Hello masters, today I wanted to show you that there is a new Serenity JS and WebdriverIO integration. As you can see in the official documentation, this integration module is a screenplay pattern style adapter for WebdriverIO that will help you with testing web and mobile applications. Today in this video, I want to help you with the installation process. I want to explain you how the structure of the project is, how you can use the screenplay pattern and all the components that this particular pattern has. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comment section and let's start talking about Serenity JS. Alright masters, what is Serenity JS? It is basically a free and open source acceptance testing framework that can help you with establish a clear link between the expected business functionality and the actual working state of your software. Okay, how the Serenity JS framework can help us? Well, basically it is going to follow the Serenity JS screenplay pattern that we're going to review in a few seconds to define your own domain specific test language that everyone in your team can read, understand and reason about. Okay, then we can create single and multi-actor test scenarios that interact with any interface of your system, including web UIs, REST APIs, mobile application, pretty much anything a Node.js program can integrate with. Okay, also turn your test automation code into test automation libraries that are easy to share across projects and teams. Obviously, it support continuous integration testing and delivery. Okay, also it helps us to abstract away the low level implementation details and use the same consistent API to develop portable web tests that work well as well with remote Selenium grids as with local Playwright or Puppeteer installations. Okay, and well, that's basically it. The next step I think is going to review pretty quickly what is WebdriverIO, and then we're going to start doing real stuff, installing the framework and checking how the screenplay pattern works. Let's go. Okay masters, let's start with WebdriverIO. What it is basically a browser and mobile automation framework, test framework for Node.js. That's it. I also want to tell you that if you look for JoanMedia WebdriverIO, you're gonna have like 12 videos talking about how you can use it to perform web and API testing. And if you look for JoanMedia mobile testing, there are a couple of videos to use WebdriverIO to perform testing mobile in Android and iOS. Okay, with this said, how you can install WebdriverIO and Serenity, which in this case is the main topic here, right? It is as simple as just using this command, npm init WDIO dot. So I'm gonna open my Visual Studio Code environment. Let me just delete every single file that I have here because I was doing the same demo but in Spanish for my other channel, and I'm gonna just delete this over here. Okay, just give me a second. Now that I have my Visual Studio Code empty, the command that I wanted to use was npm init WDIO dot. That's it. You're gonna see that in a few seconds. The WebdriverIO command is gonna install this dependency, WDIO/CLI. You're gonna see my package.json that it is creating like the structure, and also you're gonna see in a few seconds this dependency in my project. Basically, this dependency is gonna help us to configure the project the way we want to. You're gonna see this right now. Basically, it is asking me for the configuration that I want. What type of testing would you like to do? Well, in my case, I want to perform end-to-end testing of web or mobile applications, but notice that we can do the same for desktop testing, Electron application, and desktop testing of macOS application, or component or unit testing in the browser if we want to. But in my case, this is the option that I want to use. Okay, so I'm gonna press enter. Then it is asking me for where is your automation backend located. In my case, it's in my local machine, so I don't have to use anything else. Which environment would you like to automate, web or mobile? I'll be using web for this demo. Also, it is asking me for the browser that I want to use for the automation, and we can define the ones that we want. If I want to use Chrome and Firefox, you just have to press the spacebar here, and it is gonna be selected. In my case, for this demo, I just want to use Chrome, so I'm gonna continue pressing the enter key in my keyboard. Okay. Then this is essential. This is the most important part of this configuration. We have a couple of options to use Serenity JS. We can use it with Mocha and we can use it with Cucumber. In my case, to start explaining you how it works, I only want to use Mocha. I don't want to add an extra layer like Cucumber at this point, but you can do it. You can select this and you're gonna have the same results, but using Cucumber. Okay, I'm gonna use the option Mocha with Serenity JS. Okay, and then it is asking me if I want to use a compiler, if I want to use Babel or TypeScript. In my case, I don't want to use a TypeScript in this video, but it would be awesome to have TypeScript included as well. Okay, do you want WebdriverIO to automatically generate some test files? I do want to, because I want to analyze the structure. I want to explain you what is going on in the test files that it is going to automatically generate. Okay, then what should be the location of your spec files? It is going to be the default location here, so I'm going to press enter. The same for the location of your Serenity JS screenplay pattern library. Okay, and then it is asking me for the reporter library that I want to use. If you want to use .junit, Allure, concise, report portal, and so on. I'm gonna use a spec by default. There is another configuration, an extra configuration that we can use to integrate a Serenity JS reporter, and maybe we can do it in a future video. Let me know if you wanna see how you configure that library, and I'll help you out with that as well. But in my case, I'll be using a spec, which is a reporter library that we can use to see the details in the console log. Okay, so I'm gonna use spec. In my case, I don't want to use any of this, so I'm gonna press enter. The same for this, enter. The base URL is gonna be localhost. It's okay, and it is asking me if I want to run the npm install command. I do want to. I'm gonna press, or actually type Y and then enter. Okay, then it is gonna start the installation of the different packages that we need. You can see the WebdriverIO package, the spec reporter package, assertions from Serenity JS, Serenity JS console reporter, the core, Mocha, REST, Serenity BDD, and web. Those are the dependencies that we need, and you can see in our package.json that in a few seconds we're gonna have more dev dependencies here just installed in our project, and that's amazing. Also, you can see that we have some scripts here that we can use if we want to, and actually I can run this command, npm run Serenity. Okay, it is gonna start to do some processes that we need to do. Actually, it is gonna try to generate the Serenity report, but in my case, it is not configured. So at the end, we're gonna have an error that I am expecting actually. Okay, you can see that it is currently executing the tests in the browser. Okay, and let me see what is going on. But now it has finished. You can see the error that I just told you. Serenity BDD requires a Java runtime environment. Please make sure you have installed it. And actually here we have the documentation to fix the issue and try to get the Serenity BDD report. But in this case, I'm okay with this. I'm gonna just stand by, or I'm gonna use the dot reporter, which is the one that it is displaying the logs, as you can see over here. You can see that I have the results for a couple of hits, and you can see checks because, well, it is passing and everything is working fine. But okay, that's the configuration that I wanted to show you guys. At this point, the next step is gonna be explain you what is going on in the test framework, what is going on in the specs. Then I'm gonna try to explain you as well the Serenity JS screenplay pattern using this documentation, and then we're gonna understand what is going on in the code as well. Okay, masters, let's start talking about the screenplay pattern, the different components that we have, and then we're gonna review the project that we just generated, and we're gonna understand what is going on in every single part of the project. But let's start talking about the screenplay pattern. I would like you to come here and read every single detail that I'm not explaining. It is important, but I don't want this video to last for 2 hours. I'm gonna try to get to the point. The design principle with this screenplay pattern is that automated acceptance tests should use your domain language to clearly express what activities the actors interacting with your system need to perform in order to accomplish their goals. That's the design principle that we're gonna follow, okay? Here we have also some positive implications that you can take a look, and also now we have to look for the five building blocks of the screenplay pattern. Okay, this is so important. We're gonna have actors, we're gonna have abilities, interactions, tasks, and questions. And here you have a small diagram where you can see how the building blocks interact to each other. But in my case, I want to explain you the different building blocks individually, and then you're gonna see with an example how they interact. Okay, so let's start with actors. So a test scenario following the screenplay pattern has one or multiple actors representing people or and external systems interacting with the system under test. So let me read you the example that we have over here. We're gonna have two actors. We're gonna have Apposite, and we are going to have Wendy as well. Apposite is gonna be responsible for setting up this data using the REST API. That's the responsibility of Apposite. But then we're gonna have another actor who is Wendy. Wendy is going to be representing a customer interacting with the web UI. So we have two actors with two different goals. Okay. Using Serenity.js, we can call this function actor code, and we just have to name the actor as a string. Okay. So we're going to have the actor called Apposite, who is in charge of setting up this data using the REST API. And we're going to have Wendy, who is a customer interacting with the web UI. Okay, we are clear with actors, right? Now, let's understand the abilities that each actor needs to have, okay? The first one, well, let's read a little bit the description here. Actors have abilities that enable them to interact with the various interfaces of the system under test, okay? So, for example, Apposite will interact with the REST API using an Axios HTTP client, okay? That's beautiful. So, what is going on here in the example? We have the actor called Apposite, and we're gonna provide the ability of interact with the REST API using this function here. Call an API.using, and this is the base URL that we are providing. Now Apposite has the ability to call an API. Okay, that's beautiful. And the other hand, with Wendy, who is the customer who is gonna interact with the web UI, right? We're gonna use the Playwright library to, well, provide the ability to browse the web with Playwright using a browser. Okay, those are functions that come from the Serenity.js/Playwright library that we can discuss in the future if you want to. We can integrate Serenity.js with Playwright as well. Okay, but this is the example. Now Wendy is capable or has the ability to browse the web with Playwright using a specific browser. Okay, now we understand the relationship within actors and abilities. Let's continue. Now an actor can interact as well based on the ability that he has. Okay, abilities enables actors to perform interactions with the system under test. Beautiful, right? Okay, so let me read you this as well. Most interactions you will need are already provided by Serenity.js modules, and you can easily create new ones if you like or you need to. But the majority of the interactions are actually ready for using. Okay, so you can see, well, the progression of steps that we're doing here. We have the actor Apposite. Apposite has the ability to interact with an API, and now it is going to interact with the API using the method attempts to. And then we're going to use this particular interaction, which is send a post request to the product's endpoint with this particular payload. Interactions like send are command objects. That's the explanation of this particular command. Okay. And in the other hand, Wendy, who is in charge of interacting with the web UI, is going to attempt to navigate to the URL that she needs to go. Okay, you can see the interaction is different based on the goal that we need to have for the different actors. Okay, that's beautiful. Now we understand interactions comes from abilities, and abilities is related to actors, or are related to actors, I'm sorry. Okay, now we have reviewed 3 of the 5 building blocks of the screenplay pattern. I'm gonna leave task for the end, and let's start with questions. Okay, let's go. With questions, let me read you the documentation. I think it's important. Apart from enable interactions, the abilities also enable actors to answer questions. Okay? Abilities are essential to interactions and also questions. That's important. Okay? Abilities also enable actors to answer questions about the state of the system under test. That's amazing, because we can create questions to get the answers that we want to have, and then make assertions based on the answers. Let me show you the example. Okay, Opposite, who is in charge of set up data using an REST API, who has the ability to call an API, okay, and who is gonna be capable to interact to the API with the send method. And well, Opposite is gonna send a post request to the product's endpoint with this payload. Now we can use this ensure that. Okay, ensure that is gonna help us to make questions and get answers. Okay, so ensure that the last response, that status. Okay, I didn't think that I have to explain this because it is self-explanatory. Now we're gonna get the last response status, and I want to make sure that it equals to 201. That's amazing, right? Actually, you can see here in the documentation the Serenity JS assertions, and you can come here and see more information about all the assertions that we have available. So I just wanted to tell you that it is in the documentation, and we have ensure that and ensure eventually. And here we have the different usages for them. And well, that's it. That's like a small note that I wanted to show you. On the other hand, when Wendy, who is in charge of interact with the web UI, has the ability to browse the web with Playwright using a browser, use the interaction of navigate to the URL. Now I want to make sure using Screenplay or ensure that the page.current, that title, ends with my example shop. You can see the question, the answer, and the assertion, right? That's beautiful. Now that we understand how, right, the actors' abilities, interactions, and questions works, I think that we need to see the tasks, because it's important and it's essential to the example that we're gonna review in a few seconds. Okay, let me look for tasks. Okay, tasks. Conceptually similar to function, tasks offer an easy way to associate business meaning with the sequences of activities and turn them into reusable building blocks. Okay, let me show you the example. We're gonna have a function here, set up product catalog. It is gonna receive a product's parameter, okay? And then inside of the function, we're gonna declare a task. This task is gonna have the syntax task.where, and here we're gonna describe what is going on in the task. So in this case, the actor, who is gonna be Opposite, set up the product catalog. Opposite is in charge of load the test or the data using a REST API. You remember that, right? And then inside of the task, we're gonna list the activities or the interactions and also the questions. Okay, just take this in consideration. The task is gonna be agnostic of the actor, and the actor is gonna send a post request. It could be Opposite, it could be Joan, it could be any other actor. But the task is that the actor sets up the production catalog. Okay, here we have the interaction, here we have the question, and now in the test, maybe we can create this syntax over here to the actor call Opposite, who has the ability of call an API using an HTTP client, attempts to, and instead of sending the interactions and the questions here, we can just call the function set up product catalog here and send the products that I want to send to the REST API here. And now you can see that this building block or this function, we can call it as many times as we want to, and here is the logic inside. That's the logic under tasks, and that's how the screenplay pattern uses the tasks. Okay, That's beautiful. And you can see the other example. In the same manner, we define a task for Wendy. The function is going to be called open online store. The task is going to be named actor opens the online store. And you can see the same pattern. We're going to encapsulate the direction, then the question, and then we can just call the task or the function in the attempts to part of this. Okay. Actor called Wendy, who can browse the web with Playwright, using browser, attempts to open online store. And inside of this task, we know that the actor is going to navigate to the URL that we want to. And then I am going to make sure that the current title of the page is this one. And we have like a nice way to have this in a function or a method and help us to encapsulate this, right? So masters, now that we understand that, I think the next part of the explanation is going to understand the project, the structure, and then we're going to understand what is going on in this spec file. Okay, masters, let's just start talking about the example spec that we have here. And well, let's just start talking about the imports. Basically, we're going to require describe and need from Mocha. Okay. We're going to require some assertions methods like ensure and equals from this library. We need the actor call to describe the actors, right? That's essential. And it comes from Serenity.js core. We're going to require by navigate page element and text from Serenity.js web. And also we're going to require a couple of classes that we are going to discuss later in this video. You can see here a class to-do list and a class to-do list item. And that's what I'm importing from these lines 7 and 8. I'm just bringing the classes to here and gonna explain you that or what is going on inside the classes in a few seconds. Okay, that's okay. Okay, here we have a description of what is going on here. We have documentation about the screenplay pattern. Here you have it. What is going on with the web testing, API testing, and all the stuff that you need to understand and learn what is going on with Serenity over here. And this is the app under test. That's essential. Okay, let me open this. This is the to-do application that I have explained to you many times in this channel, but basically here we can add a to-do. Go to the supermarket. This is a to-do that I have to do in my day, let's imagine, right? And we can complete the to-do. You can also see what is going on with the item left message here. If I toggle it, you can see 0 because I don't have anything else to do. But if I don't have that, this is gonna be 1. Of course, if I go add another to-do, go to the gym, we're gonna have 2 items left. And if I toggle one of them, 1 item is left, okay? We can delete or remove to-dos from the list, okay? And that's it. That's the application under test in this example. Okay, the important thing here, guys, is that, well, we're gonna have the Mocha structure that we always have, right? We're gonna have describes and its, but the documentation is telling us that the describe is gonna be the system feature. Okay, that's what the documentation is trying to explain us. And then every single it is gonna be a scenario or goal. So you can see that inside of the of an it, we're gonna have an actor, right? As we saw before in the documentation, and every single part or code block that we have inside of the it and the actor, it's gonna be an activity. And that's what I wanted to explain to you. We have system features, we have scenarios, and then we have activities. And that's how the structure of a spec file is expected from the Serenity documentation. So I just wanted to tell you that. And now that we know this, it's time to start taking a look at the code and understand what is going on inside. Okay, masters, let's start with the very first scenario. This is gonna be fun. Let me read you the description. This is the most basic example of Serenity.js screenplay pattern test scenario. This scenario uses a single actor configured to perform a series of web-based interactions. Okay. You can also see that it uses only the low-level abstractions provided by the Serenity.js web module. we are only going to use the kind of methods provided by the Serenity.js web module. We are not gonna do something pretty complex. This is a simple scenario to start learning about this, okay? So let's start with the first one. This offers a web testing tutorial. Let me run the example as well in the console, npm run Serenity, okay? Let me run it, and then let's analyze what is inside of this First of all, note that we're gonna declare an actor using this function, await actor called Alice basic example. That's the name of the actor that I'm gonna use. Alice basic example, or Alice, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, guys. Then inside of the actor called, we're gonna have activities. We're gonna have two of them. The interaction navigate to go to this particular URL. Let me open it just to keep track of what is going to happen. This is the website that we're gonna visit. And then I'm gonna ask a question to the system. And I wanna make sure that the text of the page element located with this ID, by ID, let me look for it in the console, right? This is the ID that I'm looking for. Okay, I wanna make sure that the text of this element equals to the start automation and this rocket over here, okay? And you can see that it makes sense. That's the text that I have inside of the element. Okay, that's beautiful. And that's the test that we're trying to do using the screenplay pattern, kind of blocks or modules, right? We're declaring an actor, we are doing interactions, and we are making questions in this particular example. With this said, when I analyze what is going on in the console, you're gonna have a lot of insights of every single action that we're doing. Let me show you this. The first one is the system feature, the describe, okay? And then we have the scenario goal after it offers a web testing tutorial. And then every single check here, or X, it's gonna be a representation of the activities. The first one is gonna be navigate to, and let's analyze the log. Alice, who is the actor, navigates to, okay, to this particular URL. It's comprehensive. It's language, a common language, right? And then the next activity is that I want to ensure that the text of the page element located by ID with this ID does equal to this string. And you can see that it makes sense. The report is explaining to us what is going on in the execution time, and everything makes sense for a non-technical person, okay? That's the first example, guys. Now we're gonna go to the second one, which is more advanced, and we're gonna have more action, more complex stuff to analyze. Let's go. All right, masters, let's start with the second scenario, which is gonna be offers examples to help you practice test automation. Inside of this, we're gonna have two actors. We're gonna have the actor called JoanAPI tester and Wendy acceptance tester. This part of the video is gonna be about JoanAPI tester. Then we're gonna start with the second actor. Okay, let's read the description. This is a more advanced example of Serenity.js screenplay pattern test scenario, okay? As I told you before, we're gonna have two actors. JoanAPI tester is gonna be responsible for interacting with the API to check if the system is up and running before performing any UI checks. That's the goal or the responsibility of JoanAPI tester. Then we have Wendy. Wendy is going to be responsible for interacting with the website to perform the actual acceptance test. All right. We are going to have two actors, and we are going to start with JoanAPI tester. But first of all, in this scenario, rather than list all the interactions in the test itself, we are going to use API action class pattern and also a screenplay pattern flavor of page objects. Just keep that idea instead of using the actor and then all the activities like listed over here. We're gonna start using tasks. I'm gonna show you that in a few seconds. And that's why when I open the actor called JoanAPI tester and the attempt, you can see that I'm gonna be using a class, GitHub status, and then a simple method that represents a task. Let me explain you that. This GitHub status, as you can see, is basically an import, a class imported from this particular file, GitHub status, this one over here. You can see that this is a class GitHub status, and we're gonna have one static method named ensure all systems operational. And that's the method that we are calling in it itself. Ensure all systems operational. Okay? Let's analyze what is inside of this task. But first of all, we're gonna have a couple of variables. The first one is base API URL, this one. Let me open it in the browser just for you. And then we are gonna have another variable named status.json, which is gonna be, the base API URL, which is this one. And we're gonna concatenate another string, which is status.json. I'm gonna copy and paste it at the end of the string. And here it is. We're gonna have a response from the GitHub status API, okay? And you can see that under the status object, we're gonna have a description telling us all systems operational, okay? That's an indicator that the GitHub service is up and running. The GitHub actions are up and running as well. And that's where the to-do app is located and hosted, if I'm not wrong. That's why JoanAPI tester want to make sure that the API is returning the right status message. Okay. Let's open this static method named ensure all system operational. I'm going to open it. And here it is. We're going to have our very first task. If you remember the explanation from the documentation, this is going to be an easy way to associate business meaning with the sequences of activities and turn them into reusable building blocks. So let's start. This task where the actor who is going to be JoanAPI tester, remember that, is going to ensures all GitHub systems are operational. That's the goal of this task, okay? That's beautiful. And then inside of the task, we're gonna have interactions and questions. So, John, the API tester, is going to send a GET request to the URL that I just show you, this one. And then he's gonna ask some questions to the response, this one. He's gonna go to ensure that, and he's gonna make sure that the status of the response is equal to 200. And then the most important part here is that he's gonna go to the body, this one, the whole body that I have in the response. Then he's gonna go to status, this is status property of the object, and then to description. This is the description, and that's the value that is gonna be returned in that question. That's the response. All system operational. The example is providing us with this command, describe as. This is gonna be an alias, and GitHub, the alias is going to be GitHub status. Just keep that in mind, and I'm gonna show you why this is important when you are seeing the execution in the report. Just hold on, and I'm gonna explain you that in a few seconds, okay? Then, when you have this question and you have the value of the response, you can make sure that the value that I grabbed from the status description is equal to all system operational. I want to make sure that both strings are equal. And that's it, guys. When you run the test, as we did before, we can analyze the log, okay? Let me show you this. JoanAPI tester ensures all GitHub systems are operational. This line of log comes from the task. You can see that the actor is replaced with the name of the actor, JoanAPI tester, and he ensures all GitHub systems are operational. That's the task that we're gonna try to do. And then we have, all the actions or the activities. JoanAPI tester sends a GET request to this URL. JoanAPI tester ensures that the status of the last response does equal to 200. That's the first question. And then JoanAPI tester ensures that, okay, GitHub status, the alias, we're gonna change the technical lines here to a simple GitHub status. The final user is not gonna be aware of that the response is gonna be less responded body that status that description. We're gonna change this chain of commands to GitHub status. And well, we're gonna make sure that the GitHub status does equal all system operational. And that's it, guys. I think you can see that now this task is available and we can call this function instead of listing every single activity in the same test. And we're encapsulating the logic under a task. And that's why it is important and useful. Okay? I hope that you're enjoying this, but now we're gonna start with the second actor. And this is gonna be fun. We're gonna have more stuff to explain. I hope that you're enjoying this. Let's start with Wendy, who is the acceptance tester. Masters, let's start talking about the next actor, who is Wendy, the acceptance tester. Once we know the system is up and running, Wendy can proceed with the web-based scenario, right? John API tester confirmed that all the systems operational are operational. And now Wendy is gonna come here to the to-do application and she's gonna make some actions. I'm gonna explain to you what is gonna happen. Based on the to-do list application, she's gonna create a list containing by dog food. Let me do the same stuff with you guys. Let me just open the application here. This one. She's gonna create by dog food to do. She's gonna create as well a feed the dog to do. Sorry, let me see. There it is. And she's gonna as well add another to do. How you add a to do in the application? You type what you want and then press enter in your keyboard. Okay. Then she's gonna use the to do list application and she's gonna mark as completed 2 of 3 to-dos. Buy dog food and feed the dog because she has done already. Okay, and she's gonna also ensure that the to-do list outstanding item count, this one, the one that you can see over here, is equal to 1. Okay, and that's the acceptance testing that she wants to perform. Okay, let's start talking about the very first method that you can see here. I'm gonna divide this actor in 3 different parts. The create list containing method or task, the mark as completed task in the next segment of the video, and also the assertion in the last one. The reason behind this is because this method has a chain of methods that we have to explain. And there is logic that I need to explain as well. And I want to try to explain this step by step. Okay. Let's start. I'm going to open this method in the to-do list class. Let me show you where it comes from. If you look for this to-do list, it is basically a class imported from the to-do list JS file that I have under Serenity, to-do list app, and this file. So I know that it is under Serenity, to-do list app, and this is the JS file that I need to look for. Okay, I'm gonna collapse every single method that I have here to explain you something. As you can see, this is a class, and we're going to have 2 different APIs. We're gonna have a public API, and we're gonna have a private API. The public API captures the business domain focused tasks that an actor interacting with a tool list can perform. So, for instance, an actor can perform or create a list containing, he can or she can record item, mark as completed 1 item, and so on. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then we have a private API, which is below that. Here in the private API, we have different methods, and basically here we capture ways to locate interactive elements and data transformation logic. Private API supports the public API, okay? We can use those methods in the public API. However, it is not used in the test scenario directly. We cannot use the private API in the spec file itself. The idea is to have the private API working together with the public API here, or in different files if you want to as well, okay? An instance of this private API and the functionality is that, okay, let me show you this. We have a new to-do input element or function here that is basically a page element that we can locate by this CSS selector, and then we can reference, okay? Let me inspect this for you. This is a class, and this element is this one, the to-do, well, here, where we can enter more to-dos in the application, okay? This is the reference of that by the CSS selector. That's beautiful. Here also we have an alias, as we did before with the basic example. So we don't have to tell the customer or the people who is reading the report that the page element located by CSS with new to do, that's the class. No, the people who is reading the report is gonna be aware that the script is using the what needs to be done input box. That's the alias, okay? Also, another example of what you can include in the private API is that at some point in this script, we're gonna make sure that the local storage is empty. Why? Because in our application, the to-dos are stored in this let me show you this, in this local storage key, Serenity to-do app. If I delete this key and I reload the website, you are going to see that the local storage is empty, and now I have like a clear environment. And we can manage the logic in the private API, okay, like this one, persistent items. This script is going to help us to return all the items that we have in the local storage with this particular key. If we have more than one, it means that we need to clear it, right? So if we need to clear it, we can use the method empty local storage, which is a task where we can execute the script, remove item with this key, just as I did it before in the browser. Okay, sounds good. Now that we understand that in our classes we can have public APIs with different methods and private APIs with, well, different methods as well, and the logic behind it, I can start explaining you the method that we are gonna use with the Wendy acceptance tester created list containing. Let's open up the example. This is the method that we're gonna use. Let me show you this. Okay, create list containing. It is gonna receive an array of items, string items, and let me open it for you. This is a task. So the task is basically that the actor starts with a list of containing the amount of items that we have in the array. Items. How many items do we have in this array? There are 3 of them. You can see it. And when we check the logs, you can see that the task is telling me that when the acceptance tester starts with a list containing 3 items, because the length of the item names, the length is 3. Why? 1, 2, 3. All right, we understand that. Then when I open the task, we're gonna have more fun. So first of all, it is referencing the class itself to call the create empty list method. As you can see, the create empty list method is this one, and this is a task where the actor creates an empty to-do list. The first interaction that is going to happen is navigate to the to-do application. This is the URL, and it is going to ensure that, or she is going to ensure that the current title of the page or the website title, as the alias is defined here, it equals to Serenity.js to-do app. I can make sure of the title, and I can show you this by inspect that the title here is Serenity.js to-do app. Okay, it makes sense. We're gonna make sure that once we are navigating to the correct page, the title is correct. Then I wanna make sure that the new to-do input, which was the page element that we located in the private API here, let me show you this. New to-do by the class. This one is visible, okay? So we're making sure that when we're creating an empty list, we're making sure that our environment is empty and we load it. The new to-do input is loaded, so I can proceed typing different to-dos in the to-do application. Okay, makes sense. And then it is gonna empty local storage if needed. And that's something that I tried to explain you before. Okay? Basically, this is the method. So there is another task. Actor empties local storage if needed. And basically it is a conditional check whether the persistent items, which is the function that I just showed you before, length is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, so empty local storage and then reload the website. I'm making sure that the local storage is empty and the application is like in the first state, so we can start making some tests. Makes sense, right? That's beautiful. Okay, masters, once we know that we have created an empty list, I can proceed with the next step, which is take every single item that comes from the array and map it using the function map from JavaScript. And basically it is gonna go one by one. It is gonna iterate over the array, and it is gonna use the record item function, which is another task for sure. So the actor records an item called and the item name here. Let me show you this. Let's start with the first one, buy dog food. So in the log, you can see the task records an item called buy dog food. That's what is going on here in the record item. Okay. Then we're gonna start doing the UI interactions. Enter the value, item name, and the UI here in the input. So it is gonna start enters the buy dog food string into the what needs to be done input box. That's the alias that we defined for the input box over here. Do you remember that? This one. Okay, it makes sense. And then once we have the information typed in the to-dos application, I am gonna press the key and the enter key in the new to-do input, and we're gonna wait until the item is in the list. That's what's going on in the here over here, right? And you can see that every single action or activity that we're executing in the task is working fine, and we are doing the same stuff for every single to-do item. We have buy dog food, we have feed the dog in the next task. Let me show you this. Feed the dog. This is the new task, feed the dog. And then book, let me see it too. We have buy, feed, and book a vet's appointment. There it is. Okay. You can see that everything is working fine. The user is able to create a list containing all the to-dos that she wants to. And then we're gonna see how the to-do list mark as completed 2 of them. Okay, let's do it. Right, masters, now that we have added 3 items to the list using the last task that I just explained to you, now we're gonna use another task, which is gonna be mark as completed. I'm gonna copy this and I am going to explain you what is going on with this. Let me look for it in the to-do list class. There it is. Here it is, mark as completed. Mark as completed is gonna receive an array of items, item names here, okay? And it is gonna be buy dog food and feed the dog, okay? Both values are already added to the list because of this interaction, and now I want to mark them as completed, okay? Okay, now that I know this, let's explore what is inside. It is basically a new task, okay? The task is telling me that the actor marks the following item as completed, items as completed, and here is the array. Let me show you this in the console. When the acceptance tester marks the following items as completed, buy dog food and feed the dog. All right, that's amazing. And then we're gonna iterate over every single item name here, and we are going to mark as completed that list item. But let me explain you what is going to happen here. First of all, now we're gonna start using a new class. This class is for every single item that we have in the list, individual items. So I can mark that item as completed or as outstanding and toggle it if I need it, okay? And here we have the only, kind of page object that I need to use, which is input.toggle, that if I show you in the UI, let me show you this, so you're aware of it. The toggle is this input where I can toggle it and complete it or not. Beautiful, right? Okay. But in the to-do list class, you can see that to mark this item as completed, I am sending this result, which is another method. Okay, this is the method that I have in the private API, and based on the name, okay, the item name, it is gonna return a web element. Okay, how? It is gonna iterate in the items list that I have in the UI, and where it finds a text with the name that I received from the array, it is gonna return the first web element that I have there. Okay, and that's it. I am going to send that web element to the mark as completed method from the other class named toDoListItem, which is this one. Here is gonna receive the item or the web element, and here we have another task. The actor marks the item as completed. In this case, it will be buy dog food, or in the other hand, it will be feed the dog. Okay, depending on the iteration that we are running. Okay, and now that I have the item here, it is gonna check if the element has the class or not has the class. It doesn't contain the class completed, and if that is correct, it is gonna toggle the item. It is gonna check the item here, and it is gonna mark as completed. That's beautiful, right? Okay, masters, once I have explained to you that, you can see, well, that clicks on the toggle button of the item called buy dog food, and the same for feed the dog. So now we have 2 of the 3 items marked as completed, and now we have to ensure that the remaining of items it's equal to 1, and that's the next part of the video to finish it with the whole explanation. Let's do it. All right, masters, now that we have executed the interactions to create a list containing the items buy dog food, feed the dog, and book a vet's appointment, and then we mark as completed buy dog food and feed the dog, it is time to make sure that this text here telling us that there is 1 item left, it's the correct one or not. This number 1 is the correct one or not. How we can do it? Well, we can use a question here. Ensure that, okay, the to-do list that outstanding item count is equal to number 1. Okay, so this method is gonna help us, right, to basically give us the text or the number that we have in the UI over here. That's the question that we're doing, and that's the answer that I'm looking for. So how I do it, it's basically using this text of page element located by tag name strung. Let me show you this. Inspect. Let me look for a strung, and this is the element with the number 1. Okay, so it is returning it as number described as number of item left. So now I have the number in my method here in the question. I have the answer, and I can compare it to number 1. So when you check the log here with the execution, there it is. Okay, when the acceptance tester ensures that the number of items left does equal 1. And there it is. It is working perfectly fine, guys. And I think that's it. I think that we have covered the basics here, guys. Thank you very much for staying until the end. And this error that you have here is because you don't have, I don't have Java runtime environment installed in my case. So if you want to see how I fix this error in the future, if you want to have this report working for you as well, and you want to have a kind of guidance, I can try to make a video for you. Please let me know in the comment section. What do you think about it? I want to see your feedback. This video was pretty hard to be recorded. It has, I've been working for this video for I don't know, maybe 4 hours. And I hope that you hit the like button, subscribe it, and I hope that you enjoy it. See you soon, master, and bye-bye.